hey, you know that thing that you tried doing 10 times and it didn't work? Now you got to go do it again, but this time it will. We are the dominant bloodline. Like every other bloodline died, like famine, adversity, every battle ever. I was dark, I was miserable, I was dealing with some fucking trauma, but I was not depressed, I was miserable. Doesn't matter how much testosterone you inject yourself with, it will not turn you into Dwayne Johnson. I'm sorry. But if we're going to look at someone like Dwayne Johnson for an example, as someone who is, a very well-built, strong alpha male, regardless of what people want to talk about PED use and so forth, if you look at someone like that who is just a successful, strong man, it's not just the testosterone that turned him into that. It was all the things that he did in combination with having that high testosterone foundation. And this is the part that I'm very much in two minds about this. And one of the reasons I like talking about this so much is that I don't have a vested interest in people going on TRT. A lot of the time when people are talking to TRT specialists or clinics, they have an incentive to sell you TRT because that's how they make their profit margin. That's how they make their commission. So I don't have a stake in it. And I truly believe that the vast majority of men in the world at the moment, not all, but the vast majority, would benefit from going on TRT. But there are so many caveats and so many things to take into consideration around TRT, which is why a lot of the time I end up talking people out of it because they haven't looked into these things. You are making a lifelong commitment and creating a acquired hormone deficiency, kind of like a type 1 diabetic, but for testosterone, for a substance which is one of the only, if not to my awareness, the only substance in the world which has been scientifically proven to make people less likely to follow rules. That's not going to be an easy thing to get on a global basis. I mean, there are countries in Eastern Europe where you can't even get a testosterone prescription, period. There's nothing. So you're creating a lifelong dependency on a government-controlled substance, which they're not going to make this any easier for people to get. And that's a huge factor that people need to consider. So there's a lot of the time when we're looking at should a guy or shouldn't a guy go on TRT, a lot of the time it's more logistical in terms of their concerns than it is a medical concern. So when we're looking at people's expectations around starting TRT, expectation management is crucial because a lot of the time, the people who sell people their TRT programs don't mention the fact that, hey, you've actually got to go and do the fucking work now. And what TRT will do is it will make all the things that you should be doing that you haven't been doing actually work properly. So for example, if you take a guy who's hypergonadal, low testosterone, young guy, and he goes, and follows kind of my recommendations on, things in terms of lifestyle. So he goes out and he does his training. He goes and does some martial arts. He tries to learn to meditate. He eats well. He pushes himself hard. A lot of the time, those situations are actually going to be more stressful than they are beneficial because he doesn't have the biological foundation to actually antagonize and balance out the stress of those situations. So that's when you find guys who, if they go into a caloric deficit, they lose muscle. And then if they go into a surplus, they get fat. They're the people who everything is just harder than it should be. And then what happens when you go on TRT is you're essentially rebuilding the foundation of the house. So you're stripping the house down. Let's say if you're a house, the house keeps falling down. You keep fixing the bathroom. It keeps falling apart because the foundation underneath the concrete slab is fucked. So what we're doing now is we're going, hey, we're putting that slab down now and we're fixing the foundation so it's perfect, but you've still got to go out and build that house. And the most difficult part of this psychologically for people is going, hey, that thing that you tried doing 10 times and it didn't work? Now you got to go do it again, but this time it will. And that is a very difficult thing for people to do when they've got years and years and years of learned fear because they have failed so many times. So it's giving them this understanding, which is not giving them permission to be a victim, but it's giving them this understanding of going, hey, I understand that you tried, and the fact that it didn't work wasn't from your lack of trying. It's because the foundation was fucked. We've fixed it, and now you need to go try again. That is hard, but it's also not spoken about. People don't say to people, and this is the thing that I've been drilling into my clients this year, is going, if you want to take your free testosterone levels up to the peak of what they should be for your genetic evolution as a human being, which is, let's say, 3 to 4 times higher than where they are now for someone who's hypergonadal, what you're doing is you have to go out and live and be the kind of man that would have those testosterone levels if you could. Because if you don't, if you continue to eat tons of junk food, be obese, drink, not move, and then you put a fuck ton of testosterone into your body, which it would be actively suppressing, even if it could make it, it's not going to work. The receptors aren't going to receive it. You're going to get a pro-inflammatory response. It's going to all metabolize wrong. And then that's when guys come and say, oh, I've got problems with estrogen. It's like, nah, dude, you're just fat. Or you've been unhealthy for so long that your body now has to metamorphosize and transition out of that. And that's something that takes time, effort, and work. It's a huge part of the conversation that people aren't having because it's not marketable. It's not an easy sell. So I've been on TRT now for 6 years, coming on 7. And I didn't work this shit out for the first few years. I felt markedly better on TRT than I used to, but it was only at the point where I was like, fuck, I actually have to work significantly harder than I am to actually get this to turn me into the man that I want to be. Because when you look at people's expectations around TRT, they're wanting to become a more masculine, androgenized version of themselves. That's what they want. That's the whole goal of what you want from testosterone, is to become a more androgenic, a more masculine version of you. And it's understanding and learning and going, I have to put my body into the position that it would be making this amount of testosterone if it could. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. And that's what you see in forums and in groups, is so many guys who haven't been educated on this specific point, is that, hey, you have to go out and do the work, but you also have to understand what the work is that needs to be done. So now when these guys go to the boxing class, yeah, it's still hard. Yeah, you still suck at boxing. I mean, testosterone doesn't teach you how to fight, but what it will do is it will make that experience more enjoyable to overcome. When you sit down and try to meditate, your mind will not naturally be at peace from going on TRT, but you will likely be less tormented by a stressed and anxious inner monologue because your neurochemistry has changed. So there's all these different factors that people need to be looking at when it comes to going, okay, if I want to be the best, strongest, most powerful version of myself as a man, I have to fix the hormone foundation, but then I actually have to go out and do all the things that the best version of myself would do. And when you're looking at all these guys, and it's so important to have a masculine male role model, is going, what habits, what did these guys do day in and day out for years to get to the point that they're at now? And it wasn't just walking through life doing the same shit that you did, sitting on the couch, jerking off all day, not doing any work. They didn't just do that and then become this man from having the low testosterone. But what the higher testosterone does is it does predispose you more to wanting to do these things. So I never wanted to learn martial arts when I had a low testosterone, ever. And going on TRT didn't make me go, oh, fuck, I need to get into the boxing gym. But it definitely made it something that I was like, hey, I see the merit in this now. So it's like the testosterone kind of does push you forward and guide you to where you want to go, but you've still got to pull the trigger and do it yourself.
If you've just started TRT, it is completely normal to feel overwhelmed and confused. There's a lot of new territory to cover, and there is a lot of conflicting information. I wrote TRT 101 so that you can have everything that you need to know in an instruction manual in one place that you can refer back to, that you can have all the questions answered before they even come up. TRT 101 is my best practice approach for TRT from start to finish, and it contains everything that you need to avoid all the challenges and pitfalls that I've seen come up in my clients over the last 5 years. You can check it out via the link below.
Matt, I got chills listening to that because you've kind of like articulated what I've been experiencing, but I've never like thought about it I never thought about it. Like I've just been living it. Because just to give you some context, like 2021, like it was not the best year. Like things were a bit rough in 2021, but I've always had this mentality that like regardless of what's going on, I'll just push through. Like just. But it was shitty. It was always like it didn't feel good, And around the end of 2021, I decided to do the bodybuilding show. That's when I jumped onto like testosterone, and then it's almost like I feel like why I am in the place I am now, like a lot like happier, like I guess more successful in a way, is I was already doing the work, and then once I took testosterone, I kept doing what I was doing, and it went like exponential. It's crazy, and like I look forward to challenging. I can't wait for the next challenge in my life because I just know how much it will like help me grow. And these are like mindsets that I don't think I would have ever been able to tap in when I was not on testosterone, but it was like the basic underlyings of it were already there. So it's like, it's almost like a nature versus nurture kind of question. It's like, which one is like, did testosterone make me ambitious or did it not? Or was I already ambitious? But it's almost like you have to have a bit of it. And then testosterone helps carry it and just, what do you call it? Grows it exponentially, So yeah, that's really interesting. Do you think then, well, I guess you kind of explained it, but do you think ambition and drive is something that every man or every person can unlock?
Can they? Yes. Will they? No. Um, when I was younger, I didn't have the best time at school, and the way that I would mentally, I guess, looking back on it now, self-soothe, but the way that I would distract myself was that I would listen to these songs and imagine myself performing them live. That was kind of a dream that I had. And what I didn't realize was that because I was doing this every night before I fell asleep or every time I was in the car listening to music, um, I manifested that into my reality. It didn't just make it fall into my lap, but I mean, I was driven to do that. And as soon as I got some momentum, like I joined my first band, I played my first show, that was all my ambition and drive was. And there's a video, I'll have to send it to you afterwards, but it's the last show we played. We did one show after I had my head injury, and it was in Jakarta. And it was professionally filmed. We're headlining a festival. And I remember walking out on that stage, like if you imagine like a festival style stage, like an outdoor one. And I walked out and, I saw all these people who knew all the words to our songs and they were cheering and they knew who we were. And I realized that was the exact vision that I'd had my whole life in terms of what I'd wanted for music. And then I stopped as a singer after that show. I ended it on a high. So that kind of stuff in terms of having a vision and having something that you feel is so important to you as a purpose is something that we can all have regardless of our hormone levels. But the question is, will we? Because the world is so full of distractions. It's so full of things to make us, hedonistic or selfish or not working towards a higher purpose, that I think it is very easy for people to go through life. And when I say easy, I mean it can happen, but I think it's also why so many people have mental health issues, is that they don't have that purpose or drive or ambition that they're working towards. But my issue growing up, well, not issue, but something that I guess I dealt with looking back, was that I was quite lazy. And I was lazy because I could be. I mean, I would pick things that were probably beneath me so that I didn't have to work as hard to achieve what I needed to achieve. So I didn't take the piss, but I just got away with not really applying myself because I was capable of doing some things that didn't really require a lot of work. And it wasn't until I was backed up against the wall in terms of actually facing my own mortality that I actually realized what I was capable of. And it was listening to the David Goggins podcast with Joe Rogan, the first one that ended up becoming his Can't Hurt Me book. I would listen to that on repeat while I was doing rehab to see what I could actually do. Like, that inspired the fuck out of me because I identified so much with that in terms of someone that I never thought I was really capable of doing anything that was that difficult or overcoming things. And it wasn't until I was backed up against the wall where I was like, okay, now I have to do something hard that I don't love. Like getting to the point of playing music on a big stage, that was hard, but I loved it. Doing rehab was horrible. But it was either that or death. So it was there. I think men, and this is the point that I'm trying to make, is that I think you need a purpose and something that you feel is why you are here. Like, and people can take a religious approach with that, a spiritual approach with that, or just a general mental health approach of you have to have something that you're doing, that you're working towards, that makes you proud. But I also think that we all need a rite of passage, which has been completely removed from culture. I often make the joke that the rite of passage used to be, go out into the forest naked for a week and bring back a kill. And if you don't, then you're not welcome to be part of the tribe. We've replaced that now with a sweet 16, where you get a car for your 16th birthday. Complete opposite. But I think we all need something as a defining point in our life as men, and I think that you're going to get it inevitably, is you need something that tests your limits, that really makes you look death in the eye. Look your fears and look your insecurities in the eye and go, hey, what am I actually made of? Like, what can I actually do when my life is on the line, or when something that, crucial is on the line? And I think that if you haven't gone through something like that truly tests your resolve of what you can face and overcome, then everything else in life will seem a lot more difficult than it is. Because when I look at things now that I don't want to do, like, I'm not someone who likes doing admin work. I'm not someone who likes cleaning and tidying. I'm not someone who, I have small things that I struggle with, day to day, just like anyone else. But now when I look at that, I go, this is all so easy compared to what I have done and overcome and been through. And that was what was so important for me, to be able to unlock that motivation and ambition and drive. Because I was in a situation where I could say, I am now more resilient to stress. I am now able to pick things that are difficult and hard and go, you know what? Yeah, that is difficult and hard, but I've done harder shit, and this is worth the work and effort. And I think a lot of guys just don't have that thing that they have pushed themselves truly beyond what they ever thought they were capable of, to be able to apply that resilience into making goals and overcoming goals. And I think that we all have so much potential. And this is what I spoke about at Ali's conference. And I know that other people have said a very similar thing. So I'm not parroting, I'm echoing what other people have said, is that, like, you and I are having this conversation. People who are listening to this podcast now are listening because we are the dominant bloodline. Like, every other bloodline died, like famine, adversity, every battle ever. Like, the bloodline that made it through literally won 100% of the challenges. And that's why we're all here now. So if people are going, oh, my depression is genetic, no, it's not. Like, you are the most capable, and we're also, as human beings, we're the apex predators of nature. So you're at the top of the food chain, you're the dominant bloodline, and if you look through history, there has been some fucked up shit that people have gone through and got through it, and that's why you're here today. So if you think that your problems are genetic, then, the fact that you can't get out of bed and go to work and face the day, it's not genetic. Yes, there may be environmental factors. There may be some fucked up traumas that you've been through. Everyone has got their shit. But you do have the foundation and the coding and the blueprint to be able to overcome that. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And it doesn't mean it's going to be good. But, like, what else are you going to do? Like, what are your choices? So I think that if people can look into themselves and actually, give themselves that credit where credit is due and go, I can do this. I just need to try harder, or I'm not where I want to be now, but I could be. That's all people need. And sometimes it's just someone saying the right thing that gets under your skin and makes you hear something right. For me, and I'm sure heaps of people don't like him, but I fucking love the work that Andrew Tate puts out in terms of, like, speaking about this kind of stuff, is sometimes you just need someone to say the right thing that unlocks that fire inside you, that burning passion or that desire to go look at yourself and go, I'm not proud of where I'm at now. I feel guilty because I'm lazy. And instead of numbing that signal or running from that signal, it's looking at it, taking responsibility and going, okay, how can I fix and overcome this? And I think that the cure to that for men is like it's forward momentum. If you're moving forward towards a goal, that is one of the most powerful cures for depression because you're not stagnant. So even if you're not where you want to be, as long as you're further towards that than where you were yesterday, it's like that is the cure for so many men's depression is moving forward. And when I was doing rehab, when I was making progress, I was dark, I was miserable, I was dealing with some fucking trauma, but I was not depressed, I was driven. So I think we all do have the potential, but I don't think a lot of people will unlock it because I think a lot of people will shy away from stepping up to the plate and swinging at that challenge when it does show up in life. And I think one of the reasons why people don't swing is because they might have that low testosterone foundation. And that's what I think is very sad. And that's why it's both, right? It's nature and nurture. And that's where some guys have to take a step back and go, okay, the testosterone is not going to be the panacea for fixing my life, but it may be the catalyst that I need to be able to fix my life. And that's what it was for me. I think when it comes to testosterone, you want to get the optimal benefits of testosterone, and testosterone will continue to become more optimal for you until you take too much. There's not a lot that's changed in injectable dosing for testosterone in the last few years. It's just